Let's get this show on the road. How we feeling this morning, everybody? You gotta get a thumbs up, emojis. Anybody in the room want to say
Good morning.
good morning? Good morning. Um, Excited to be here with another 1 Million Cups. My name is George Bell, your host and organizer of our Chico chapter. We have a very special guest that I'm excited to hear about this morning. But before we go ahead and get started, I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about a little spiel about what 1 Million Cups is, and then we'll go ahead and get this show on the road. So, 1 Million Cups was created by the Kauffman Foundation with a mission to build communities one cup at a time by supporting entrepreneurs, providing them education, engagement, and connections. What started off as a small program in Kansas City back in 2012 has now grown to over 100 communities, including here in Chico, California. At its core, 1 Million Cups is a free program designed to empower and connect local entrepreneurs where individuals can come together, share ideas, seek feedback, and learn from one another. And that's exactly what we want to do here this morning. So, if you'd like to kind of stay connected with our community here in Chico, you can find us at 1millioncups.com/Chico. There, you will be able to find the application to be able to present for yourself. If you have your own small business that is 6 year or not necessarily small business, but if you have your own business that is 6 years or younger, feel free to check us out there, as well as if you just want to stay in the pipeline and see what presentations we have going up and be a part of our community. So, today will look like the following. We will have our 6 minute presentation from our special guest. Then we will have about a 20-minute Q&A session. This is not specifically, at least in this meeting, a time for investment, but feel free to build connections and resources outside of this if that's something that you'd like to do. From there, we'll do a quick wrap up, kind of tell you what we got going on in our ChicoSTART community, and then we'll be good to go. Call it a morning. Without further ado, it is my privilege to introduce today's presenter, Diane Eastman of Solir, with her product ThermeShade. So give her a hand, y'all. Let's give it
up. Good morning. Can you see the screen okay?
I will go ahead and drop my screen, and then that should give you the. Yep, we got it.
Great.
Already up, perfect.
Great. Hello. Big thanks to ChicoSTART, 1 Million Cups, and the Kauffman Foundation for having me. Hope everyone is properly caffeinated this morning, because sadly there's no coffee card taped to the bottom of your chair.
Right.
I'm Diana Eastman, founder of Solir and developer of the ThermeShade advanced technology for Windows. I've always been passionate about building efficiency. I ran energy audits for years, and every time I walked into a building, the conversation ended the same way. Well, the problem is the windows. And the truth is, I never had a good solution. It was super frustrating. So I decided to invent one. The problem is windows. They're the weakest thermal link in any building. Even double pane glass lets in a huge amount of heat during the summer, which means high energy bills, sweaty rooms, and overworked air conditioning units. And in the winter, it's the same glass lets heat escape. So my partner and I asked a simple question. What if a window covering could do the opposite of what most of them do? Instead of blocking light and trapping heat, what if it could block heat and keep the light? What we built is a floating interior panel that reflects infrared heat, uses aerospace grade materials, and importantly, doesn't even touch the glass. It's perforated, so it still lets in 34% of the visible light, but blocks over 50% of the solar heat gain. So is it really a shade? Technically, yes, but we like to call it advanced reflective technology for energy smart buildings, which is kind of a mouthful. So we just call it ThermeShade. What you're seeing in this video, assuming it's working, is what it looks like from the interior looking to the exterior, in this case, a hallway. So you can really see how clear the visibility is. It also cuts glare by 60%, which is really important in a lot of office situations, well, in any situation where it's uncomfortable inside. The daytime privacy comes from the fact that even though you can see through it right here, from the outside, it's white. And so you can't see inside the building. So how do we know it works? The Department of Energy commissioned a team of scientists and engineers at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory to create a global database to evaluate the performance of all window shading materials. Every material submitted was tested using standardized modeling for heat rejection and visible light transmission. ThermeShade ranked at the top, combining some of the highest solar heat rejection with superior daylight performance. When ThermeShade was tested against hundreds of other materials, it ranked #1 in solar heat rejection while letting in more daylight than any other high-performance shade. So in plainer terms, more light, less heat, backed by science. We've retrofitted high-rise condos, schools, multifamily offices, or multifamily housing, offices, and city buildings. Using the Lawrence Berkeley Lab database, we model energy savings, ROI, and even carbon reduction based on the specific characteristics of each building. Just a few basic inputs like window size, orientation, and location, we can generate a full energy savings report. So the client knows up front how much they can save and whether they qualify for energy credits or tax incentives. Unlike window films or traditional blinds, ThermeShade doesn't absorb heat, it reflects it. It flips the physics. Heat is bounced away before it enters the room. It's also modular, easy to install, and built for an underserved market. Buildings that need real performance but can't afford full window replacements. We're in scaling mode, and we're looking for introductions to building owners, architects, and hotels, especially here in Northern California. And if you've ever been personally victimized by a bad office window, we should definitely talk. Thanks so much for your time, and I look forward to your questions.
Cool.
All right, let's give it up. Oh, hi.
Absolutely. Feel free to drop your screen, Diane. We could start opening it up for questions.
Okay. Let's see.
Cool.
Does that work?
Yep. There we go. Cool. Got the crew. So anybody want to start us off, Eva?
Okay. Hey, Diane. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you. So my first question is, how do you price your product so that people can understand the approach?
So like most window coverings, it's done by the square foot.
Got it. And then does it depend? I would guess it depends on volume, right? Like if someone's going to do the whole building, it's probably, X per square foot. And if they just wanted to do their 4 front windows, it's this. Am I assuming correctly or am I wrong?
Well, so if you're going to do a whole hotel, we can talk. But if you're doing a house or office building, it's pretty much the square footage price, unless you're talking, millions of square feet. So I like to keep it pretty consistent.
Okay. I have a question.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Leslie.
When did this product come out? And when was it tested, or is it real new, or just give me a little background?
Sure, sure. So this process, even though this is a 6 minute or 5 minute presentation, has been under R&D for quite a few years. So I financed most of it myself. So I just kept my head down, myself and my partner, and we went through our manufacturing process and then submitted to the Lawrence Berkeley lab, and they told us what the performance values were, and then we just went with that. So it's been an ongoing process.
So it hasn't quite, are you just starting to market it to the commercial and residential market?
So in years, we've been working on this for maybe 10 years.
Oh, okay.
So anything that is this kind of advanced, even though it's really simple when you hold it in your hand or something, it's like, oh, that's interesting but different. It's a very complicated process. And as I mentioned, it has some aerospace technology in it. So there's not very many people or facilities that can manufacture it.
Wow.
So luckily it's made here in the United States.
Mhm.
And we kept all our sourcing here. And so it's basically fabricated on the East Coast, and it comes in giant rolls, and then it is fabricated in Northern California. So
Oh.
each one is custom. So we take the material into our facility and then shape it the way we want. So I mentioned uh, there's roller blinds. When I say system, so you can do that. That's a basic thing. And then, but the material is easy to manipulate. So we can put it in like screens, aluminum screens, like bug screens, and just cover the whole window. And it's great for skylights because obviously those let in a lot of heat.
Mhm.
So it's very flexible material, mostly in a roller blind situation because it's so thin, the material is so thin that and the hardware I use is the lowest profile that you can actually get in the industry. And so what I do is slip it underneath existing shades. So in other words, most people have blinds of some sort in their home or office. So what this is an additional protection. So I take the roller blind and then slip it behind right next to the window because it really has to be adjacent to the glass uh, to work because that's where the solar influence is coming from. And so you need to stop that solar influence so the room doesn't heat up as soon as possible. So that's why we sneak it underneath and behind existing shades. So say there are ChicoSTART or offices, it's like, oh my gosh, it's so hot. I
Mhm.
could just put it in behind whatever you have now.
Right. But you can see people can still see in the windows, right? So it couldn't take the place of a window covering. Or can it?
See in the window?
Can
So
people see in the window from the outside?
no.
Or-
So that's kind of what makes it unique is that the video that you saw where you were looking through a window to that gal who was walking by.
Uh-huh.
So that's what you see from the inside. And I didn't put a slide, although you can go to the website and see what it looks like from the outside, which is really unique and makes it uh, advantageous for schools, unfortunately, these days, is that when you're inside, you see out like you saw, but it is during the day, it is white from the outside, which is really weird. When you walk outside that door and look back, you're like, wow, that was weird. So what you do is you get privacy during the day. So it's great for offices, lower level things where you don't want people walking by and looking into your business. So it's great for that. And I'm glad you asked because at night, it's kind of like a two-way mirror.
Mhm.
So at night, so the amount of lighting that you have here at the office, when that is stronger than the exterior light, it flips. So at night, when the guy is walking by, he can look inside your office really well.
Right. I asked because I used to do interior design work. Now I'm just doing styling. But I work with a lot of clients who ask me about window treatments, and I have done custom window treatments before. I used to actually sell custom window treatments,
Ah,
draperies, but I don't do that anymore. I'm just basically into paint color and floor plans and making rooms more spacious. But I would love to connect because I'm really into promoting USA made.
yes.
And I have a website, and I would love to recommend your product possibly to clients because, I think, yeah, especially here in Chico.
Well, exactly. And to your point about interiors, another thing, so it does so many multiple things. 4 minutes, 5 minutes just doesn't cut the mustard. But another thing that interior designers really appreciate is the UV protection. It
Yes.
adds a whole nother layer. So even though you can see out, so you get the eastern sun in the morning, and that just really damages your couches and your antique rugs if you have them. So it actually, with the UV protection that a window has and this shade, it's pretty much like an 80% or 90% UV blocking. So that's important for interior, well, anybody, but when you come from the interior design space like you did, it's really important.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think Kent had something to say.
Absolutely. I think Kent, you got a few suggestions for us that you'd like to maybe
Yeah, I put some stuff in the chat. I didn't raise my hand yet.
Oh, good.
I had to work up the energy to do that. Okay, so
The
I
beach.
I posted about those Graceland buildings that have a ventilation thing that cuts like 15 degrees off the temperature, supposedly. So that could maybe synergize with your windows. If I don't know how low cost these would be. The windows there would be for like a shed the home type of situation. They could be used for something like that.
You said shed for the home, you said?
The shed to home. That's these guys do like a shed that you could put on your property that could be used as a dwelling
Yes.
in some jurisdictions. So, and they've got the thing to do that 15 degrees based on the ventilation thing that I just quoted there. But
Yes.
you also have so you got your window thing that would be a separate mechanism for maybe adding to that.
Correct. Correct. Yes. So,
Out the desert.
right, because especially important, and I'm glad you brought that up because these small units, and I've been talking to some of these modular homes and tiny homes and buildings,
Right,
they heat
exactly.
up really fast. So this material blocks 50% of the heat coming in. So of course, you need to cover, the best solution is to cover all the windows because people aren't cognizant always that even though the eastern sun, in the morning, it doesn't seem like, oh, it's not so hot because the afternoon sun is hotter. But the sooner you cut down that heat um, into your space, whatever small building or large building, the better off you are. So if you start early in the morning on the eastern side, you're blocking 50% as the sun, cycles around the skies. And finally in the afternoon on the western side, you're baking, right? Because the building has absorbed all that solar heat gain. So to your point, yeah, any window that you can cover with this material is going to be a benefit.
Good.
Uh,
And then this is only for hot weather. This isn't for cold weather at all.
Well, so I mentioned it briefly, but because people feel solar heat, and during the winter, we just turn up the heater, put on another sweater, and we're done. But that's an excellent question because the studies at Lawrence Berkeley Lab give it a U value, similar to anything else that's going to improve the winter performance.
Like BTU,
So, pardon me?
like BTUs.
Oh, U value, so insulation value.
Okay, thanks.
So what happens with this material is that the heat that is generated inside your fireplace or your whatever actually gets reflected back in just like the solar heat.
Right.
Mhm.
So what's happening really is the material is acting sort of like a barrier. It just slows the heat exchange either way, winter or summer, from leaving, coming and going into the building as it wants to. So what we're doing is we're wrangling that heat exchange. And that's why it makes the building more comfortable, right? Because during the summer, it's slowing down that heat by a lot. And then during the winter, it's also slowing down the heat. So if you've ever been in a super cold climate and you go to the window and put your hand there, you can feel that cold draft. That is obviously the exchange of heat at the window. And so this actually, when you put this material up, it's really interesting. It stops that draft altogether. So it does have a U value. And so I just modeled a building in New York City, a giant multi-story thing. It had 54 floors, an older building they want to retrofit. And so I ran the numbers using the LBNL database, and it was impressive. So for this huge building, the return on investment for this shade for winter, so they're uncomfortable during the summer, but really they have nasty winters, was like 2.5 years, which means that it's really effective during the winter because that's what they have, most of in their climate zone. Does that answer your question?
Yes. I
Yeah.
have a follow-up question. At the very end, you mentioned that like your big ask is that you're trying to get more partners with hotels and stuff. Who are you partnered with currently?
So, I was working with Best Western for a while because I wanted to pick sort of a medium based or medium line of hotels, and actually sold a hotel right here in outside on the way to Tahoe in a place called Colfax. And so I'm open. So the hotel industry is its own wild animal, right? So each, they're franchises, then they have large distributions. So I'm just getting into the core of how you go into hotels, because you can't just waltz in. I mean, you can. So my sales are going to be towards hotels because office buildings, as you know, are sort of empty, and property owners are not willing to put investment in them as much as the travel industry and the hospitality, because it's really strong right now. So I can incentivize them and tell them exactly how much energy you're going to use and save. So to your question, I haven't made any huge, inroads yet, but if you know Mr. Hilton, I'm all ears.
Awesome. Thank you.
Can't pass it.
Can you want to go ahead and ask your question or give your suggestion?
Oh yeah, this is I'm looking going to your website or trying to find it. You might want to post that in the chat, a direct link to your website. Do you have things that you're selling retail at the moment, or is it just
Since
specialty?
everything is custom, oh yes. So am I selling the material? Yes. So anybody, yourself, I don't want to see your order, Ken.
Sure.
For your home. You can
Actually, I have a business idea.
Okay.
Uh, ham radio camp experience out in the desert, bunch of exhibits. Anyway.
Right, right. Well, I mean, there's a million. Yeah, I'm open to everything.
Cool.
So I do have actually two sites still up. So one is Solir .io, And the other one is just ThermeShade. .com.
Okay.
So either one of those, you can get. So the ThermeShade site
All right, I see.
I use more for architects and things because it's loaded with all the technical data, all the sheets, all the reports from Lawrence Berkeley Lab and Energy Plus. And the Solir has some of those too, but we're sort of transitioning. So either one of those sites works.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
I see it in the chat there.
Yeah.
So Diana, how long does something like this take to be deployed? Maybe you could use an example of some of the businesses that you already worked with, and how long what's the process or time between it getting manufactured to it being deployed, and who will um put the ThermoShade on the hotel or home?
Right.
Install. Yeah.
Right. So when someone finds, sometimes the sales cycle, as you can imagine, especially for these large buildings, is really long. So what I do is say for this, let's just use, so local projects aren't a big deal. So we work directly with myself. And then when it comes to installation, I have sort of a stable of installers that are professionals. So we don't have, that works out the best to have private contractors because they really know what they're doing. So we get in touch with them, they can go out and measure. We include it in the price, and then we can install it whenever they want. So we can get there right away. What I'm doing now and working with Eva on, or Eva knows, is that we're in between um, two different materials or types of materials now. So we did version 1 and now we have version 2, which we are manufacturing right now. So I do have, in case you have a hotel, George, I do have material right now. So the answer to your question is, give me your measurements, I'll give you a quote, and we'll get on with it right now.
Okay.
And that's kind of how it goes. Just like most shade companies, probably not overnight, like an Amazon thing, because each one is custom. But that's kind of the timeline. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Cool.
So my question is, as a designer, usually I would measure the windows, and then my client and I would hire an outside contractor, window installer, and put them in. That's how I've worked that way before, because I worked with Carol's Roman Shades. Concord, California. Ever heard of them?
Sure.
Oh yeah, well, they're still around, but I worked with them pretty closely. This was more in the San Francisco Bay Area. Now I'm up in Chico. However, yeah, they did beautiful work.
Right.
But they didn't necessarily have installers. So I would find local installers in the community, and that would work independently to do the installations.
That's right. And that's exactly what I do too. I mean, you've taken it to the, and it's not that hard to do the measurements. And with a good installer, if you were off, you don't want it too big, but if you were off a little bit, you can move the brackets or something like that. So it's not that hard. When I do commercial work, I just, I'll do the initial measurement guesstimate for a quote. But when it really gets down to brass tacks, when you have, then I'll hire my guy. He goes in and remeasures and then installs, because he's going to be doing, so I want him, and they're more comfortable, because if they measure, they are more confident that they're going to make it fit because, it was their measurement. Does that make sense? Yeah.
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 No, that's true. I was going to say the installers always came out and
There you go.
Because they're going to be liable.
That's right.
Just as much as I will.
That's right. Yeah. So I was going to say, well,
everybody's kind of liable in that industry. You gotta.
That's right. And it's just safer because the installer wants to see visually the job. Is it going to be complicated so he can estimate it for you? Does he have to move existing shades? Yes, Eva.
My question has to do with, is kind of a thought I'm having as a derivative of what she's talking about. Have you ever thought about having like a Solir certified installer or a ThermeShade certified installer? Because then that it helps reinforce the brand, but it also makes sure that, you know, somebody knows what they're doing when they're working with your specific product and can represent your specific product.
Right. So actually, in a roundabout way, I actually have those because if I've worked with an installer before, so I've worked with him enough, and there are certain things. So yes, I could call him, official if I've worked with them. But if I'm doing a hotel in Arizona, um, at least for now, I mean, if we get enough business, then maybe I can be flying installers around. But I really grill them and get someone who comes highly recommended to do this work. But it isn't that difficult. But there are things like the home installer, it would be a little different scale than a commercial installer.
Right.
Right. So do I have one now? I have a lot of them now, and I wouldn't refer them unless I've worked with them already. So they
Well,
are kind of efficient.
Where this also fits though is in cooperative or collaborative marketing.
Yes.
Right? So even if it's not that hard or it is part of their daily, it
Right.
doesn't mean that it just like Windows by Anderson, right? That, and they're certified Anderson installers and yeah, that kind of stuff. I'm just thinking about, yeah, there's a lot of different people that install Windows. I'm using it as as a parallel, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
there's a lot of people who can do window coverings, but maybe it becomes, like I said, a collaborative relationship where it ends up promoting each other. And because maybe in the future, like not tomorrow, it becomes, there's some sort of incentive, right? Well, that comes with that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's definitely a possibility. From what I've found for the installers now, as I've worked with so many of them, is that they basically just install. So if you have, so Anderson, let's take Anderson. They also hire, so there's a sales team, right? And then they have specific Anderson, to your point about qualified installers. So yes, that's definitely a possibility.
Who?
No.
Sure, you got a question or suggestion?
Oh, yes, hi.
Hello.
Suggestion. I know for a fact that all of the CSUs, the California State Universities, are in process of building new buildings, and a lot of their new buildings are LEED certified and green certified. And it sounds like, I don't know what materials you use, like down to the ingredients that make up the ThermeShade, but it sounds like what your product is very sustainable based, especially for the new buildings that they're building. Like we just had an all timber building built and opened yesterday for our FMS studio. And so your product sounds like something that would be beneficial to that building because it's all timber. So I would suggest, I know you've mentioned hotels, but I would suggest looking into universities or any green LEED certified buildings would probably be very interested in your project. Or your product.
Absolutely. And you're right on because there's a list. So if an architect, so it usually goes through the architect, right? So if the architect there are quite a few LEED points available. And then, but it crosses a lot of different lines too. So you can have, like you said, there's efficiency. It is non-toxic. So you get points for that because there's no VOCs. You get daylighting credits for leads. Let's just stay on that for a second. And then you get conditioning. So if you lessen the load of the building, you get credits for that. So yes, architects can really benefit from using the materials. And a new building is actually, it should be built in with the initial, which is brilliant. If you can get, the issue is getting in at the right time with the architect, with the right person. But that's exactly right.
I'm gonna also double click on something Cherie said. When she said timber building, it's a mass timber. So I just want to make sure you understand what materials they chose to use. Because that's a resin pressed.
Yes, it's a laminated timber, yeah, a glue like glue lamps. Where is the building, Cherie?
In Chico, California, it's right on the other side of the wreck. It's the new facilities and management building. So it used to be that lot right across from the Oasis Bar and Grill on North Avenue.
Okay.
So they took that lot and built a new mass green timber building. And so if you're in town, I would definitely check it out.
Definitely. Or if you know the architect, well, so what you said it just opened though.
Yeah, they just had their grand opening yesterday. I just found out about it, so I'm going to be taking a trip over there to look at it. So I'm pretty excited about it because I'm a California Climate Action Fellow, so that type of stuff excites me very much.
Well, exactly. So, Cherie, next time when you see the building going up or sniffing around, then give me a call. So I have worked with, of course, this is retrofit, so it's perfect for that. But it's hard. It's harder to get in a building that is brand new because they're like, oh, my building's perfect and it has all this and it has all that. So I don't know, it could be kind of embarrassing.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
You know what I mean? For the architects, like, oh, but yes, if it opens and so, but we can come in at any time. So it would be really interesting to see the building. And in this case, since they are so focused on using new materials, that's where a lot of it comes in. So architects who really reach out to use new materials, US made materials, like we were talking before, new technologies, that's the sweet spot. So yeah, that's always a possibility.
Yeah, I'll keep Eva and George updated so maybe we can move together on some projects at the university if budget allows.
Absolutely. So, right. So any sort of facilities, the thing is that they would have to say, we're really reaching out to retrofit our existing buildings. No, we're not going to tear something down. We've decided to improve it. That's really where we can be a huge, huge benefit to the HVAC loads, to the comfort of the building. So yes, that's exactly what we need.
So it seems like we got another question. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question. Anybody else want to help me with the name? I can't.
Gang Dahar.
Gang Dahar.
Hello, bro. Yeah, Gangadhar, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's a mouthful, I guess.
Okay.
I am new to the group, so to speak. I attend the local chapter here, Yuba Center in Marysville.
Oh, okay.
So today that's not happening, so that's why I thought of connecting with you guys, which is nearby, right? So either I can go to Sacramento or come to Chico's. I went in this direction today.
Cool.
So nice meeting you guys. And a quick introduction. I presented at UBSR. I will be willing to present if you guys allow me to in the next couple of weeks. We do IT consulting, like, when I say that anything related to computers, fixing, programming, blah, blah, blah. We are into 3 countries. I migrated to this country 30 years back, and I've been living in the Yuba County for over 20 years. Today is the, I think, good day. I guess I got a chance to connect with you guys. And so US, Canada, and India. So of course, India is world number one by numbers wise, right? So I have access to a lot of great talent. So if you guys need any of the programming or mobile app development, whatever you call that, I gave my information in the chat.
Okay.
That's all for now. Thank you, guys. It's
Good.
again Gangadhar for short. I go with the letter G.
Got it.
Like
Thank you
G.
for introducing yourself and joining us today, and we look forward to having you apply to present, and then we'll learn a ton more.
There you go.
Yeah, that'd be
All
great.
right, sounds good.
Yeah,
Sounds
that'd be
good.
great. Any additional questions or
Yeah.
comments before we wrap today? Go, Ryan.
I kind of had a thought, in addition to maybe your retrofitting options. I was wondering if it would be possible to like work with window manufacturers, like if there's a way to have your product inside of the window, like between the dual pane glass, where it's like permanently in a window, and you could sell that to new construction as like kind of a premium window option.
Yes, so actually you're right on, and I had thought of that because I don't know if they're still selling them. I think they are. Remember those windows where you had the little mini blinds inside?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this material could do the exact same thing. It's just a big leap usually for the manufacturer to buy in and do huge amounts of R&D work, things like that. But yes, that would be perfect because then it's sealed, it's still working, and it works. It would really improve. I could probably model the benefits, since we have all the numbers, because in the glazing database, the LBNL database, you can actually take my material and it's called a shading layer. So an architect could take the material in something like Energy Pro. You probably heard of Energy Pro, which is what they use to model buildings before they build them. And then, which is another advantage similar to this timber structure. And if an architect had taken the numbers when he was building the building, he could actually put them in prior to building it and actually improve his efficiency numbers. So that's another way to go. But what a company could do is take the piece of glass, put my material in it, put another piece of glass on it, and actually they could see how effective it would be. So it would be a great idea. I'm not sure how popular those windows were or were they around, because it's all about the seal, getting everything straight in there. And people have huge windows these days. So it might work for smaller windows. I'm just running through because I have thought of it, and I really appreciate your question. But for these larger windows, it doesn't seem practical, but you're right on that thought.
There you go.
No, that's a really good observation,
Yeah.
Ryan, and thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
In wrap, I will say that I know a lot of people that have those, and they're not just mini blinds; they're also shades in them. So
Yeah.
I would highly recommend because that's a one-to-many strategy that somebody else selling it for you and they're buying it from you, right? So
Correct.
you don't have to worry about the
Exactly.
install, you don't have to worry about the inventory. blah, blah,
Exactly.
blah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to run to my next meeting, but I'll let George and everybody else
Good.
wrap
Absolutely.
it up.
Cool.
Put a bow on it. Nice.
Thank you, Eva. Nice to see you.
No, great presentation. Thank you, Diana.
Absolutely. And I'll start off by saying thank you so much, Diana, for joining us this morning. It was definitely a treat having you. And that is from myself and our chapter lead, Eva Shepherd. So thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you guys very much.
Cool.
Have a nice
Thank you.
day.
Bye bye, guys.
All right, see you, buddy.
Thank you.
So just to kind of quickly wrap up, I just want to kind of let our community know if you're interested in maybe being a 1 Million Cups Chico organizer, feel free to reach us out to us. We just need help trying to find other businesses that want an opportunity to present and get some feedback. So be on the lookout for that. Now I want to give a quick shout out to our community sponsors. We have ChicoSTART, Grow Tech, SBDC California, Half a Bubble Out, Tri-Counties Bank, Startup Grind, and Global Entrepreneur Network. And some of the things that we got coming up. So join us, ChicoSTART, and our friends at Social High Rise, July 9th, for a free Zoom webinar on 5 secret social media tips to help your business boost customer engagement. So that'll be coming up. So be on the lookout if you follow our communications, as well as, of course, you can always find us at ChicoSTART.com. And then feel free to apply for our startup stories that is coming up. It will be, you have to submit your application by August 31st at 5 p.m. But pretty much we're looking for businesses that are 5 years old or in the growth stage. And we are pretty much selecting 3 winners to win cash prizes and kind of do a pitch to our community. So, huh?
Where are they doing
Uh,
startup?
Where's the startup challenge this one? I didn't get it. Oh yeah, at Grow Tech Fest, which is actually the next one I will mention, which is Grow Tech Fest 2025, which is our Northern California's leading tech and innovation conference. That is returning now to another 2 days. Unlike last year, it will be 2 days. One day full of startups and connections, and the next day full of workshops that you guys will be all be able to enjoy. So be on the lookout for some of that stuff. Check us out at ChicoStart.com/events, and you'll be able to find all of that. So the Grow Tech Fest will be November 6th and 7th. So yeah, so Cassidy helping you with a flyer too. And then from there, feel free to just check out the website and see all this stuff. ChicoSTART. We have different resources such as our newsletter, Open Grants IO, which is like the Netflix for grants, and then our virtual toolkit. So you can feel free to educate yourself on all the entrepreneurs resources that we have. So I'll go with there and say thank you all for coming by this morning, and I look forward to seeing you next time and seeing how your journey goes, Diana.
Thank you so much for hosting and
Absolutely.
doing all this work.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Great idea. Great presentation. Y'all have a good one now.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming, y'all.